Hi everyone! Welcome back to My Aussie Story. My name is Janina Sherry, and for today, we'll be discussing everything that you need to know about paying your taxes for the first time as a migrant in Australia. It's that time of the year again. Have you lodged your tax return yet? Completing a tax return, for migrants who are doing it for the first time particularly, can be quite stressful and confusing. To help my fellow newly arrived migrants, I have written about the hows, who, when, what, and everything in between, which would definitely help those who are lodging their first Australian tax return and have no idea of how to go about it. The clean surroundings, nice roads, quality education, and the good healthcare system. Almost everything that makes Australia one of the best countries in the world are made possible, in part, by the tax that we pay the government. When is tax time in Australia? Tax time is when Australians complete and lodge their tax returns within the 1st of July to the 31st of October. The Australian financial year runs from the 1st of July to the 30th of June the following year. Who needs to pay their taxes? Generally, almost everyone needs to lodge a tax return every year. The ATO, or the Australian Taxation Office, has a Do I Need to Lodge tool which can help you work out whether or not you need to do so. In the ATO's website, I found a list of circumstances that would require a person to submit a tax return. Some of them are those who have had tax withheld from any payments such as wages made to them during the financial year, Australian residents with a taxable income that exceeded the tax-free threshold of $18,200, and foreign residents who earned more than $1 in Australia. Of course, there are instances wherein you won't need to lodge a tax return, but if you've worked out that that is the case for you, you would still need to inform the ATO, I think through completing a non-lodgement advice. Now, are you considered as an Australian resident or a foreign resident for tax purposes? Being an Australian or foreign resident for tax purposes is not dependent on your visa status in Australia. You can be an Australian resident for tax purposes even if you're not an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. Apart from those who have always lived here, many others are considered to be Australian residents for tax purposes, like those who have come to Australia to live here permanently, those who have been here continuously for 6 months or more, and the overseas students in Australia who are enrolled in a course that is more than 6 months long. The ATO has a tool that will help you determine your tax residency. How much tax do you need to pay? The amount of income tax you pay depends on how much you earn as well as on your tax residency. Generally speaking, the more money you earn, the higher your tax rate will be. If you're an Australian resident for tax purposes, the first $18,200 that you earn will be tax-free. But if you're a foreign resident for tax purposes, this tax-free threshold doesn't apply to you. Also, businesses and companies have different tax rates than individuals. So, what income do you need to include? You must include all of the income that you've received during the financial year. This includes your wages from all of your jobs, be it full-time, part-time, casual, cash jobs, earnings from being self-employed, or through any other ways. You should also include bank account interests, payments received from the government, if you own a rental property, investments, even if they're overseas, and others. So basically, if you've earned money from it, it must be included. What deductions can I claim? You can claim deductions for some expenses directly related to your job. For example, someone I know works as a disability support worker, so a part of his job is community access. He uses his own car to bring his clients to places where they need to go to, such as to a doctor's appointment. He was able to claim his expenses for those trips as vehicle and travel expenses. Note that going to and from work doesn't count. As for myself, I was able to claim the expenses that I made to buy my uniform and non-slip shoes for work. There are a lot of other deductions that you can try to claim, such as home office expenses, education expenses, tools and equipment, etc. Just make sure that you have records of these, like in the form of receipts and payment summaries. You must keep these records for at least 5 years from the day that you lodged your tax return. How do I pay my taxes? Do I need an accountant? There's no one way of preparing and lodging your tax return. I guess you could say that it's a matter of preference. Would you need an accountant or a registered tax agent to do it for you? Not really, but personally I'm for it. I use them because it makes the whole process a lot less stressful, and it gives me peace of mind knowing that a professional has handled it for me. All I had to do was give them all the information they asked for. I didn't really need to figure anything out. In my opinion, this is the way to go, especially for migrants who are lodging their first ever Australian tax return. Their services are not really as expensive as you'd think. However, if you'd rather do it yourself, that's also possible. You can lodge it online with MyTax. You'd need to create a MyGov account and link it to the ATR for that, or by mail through a paper tax return. I believe that lodging it this way takes quite a bit more time. What do I need to lodge my tax return? Some of the information and documentation that you'd need are first your tax file number or TFN, bank account details for your refund, income statements to prove any money that you made, Centrelink payment summaries, if any, proof for the deductions you're claiming, so receipts for work-related expenses, etc. If you're married, proof of your spouse's income, and private health insurance information if you have cover. Registering for your tax file number or TFN for permanent migrants and temporary visitors. I've registered for a TFN online through the individual auto registration system. As I've mentioned in one of my previous blogs, this should be one of the first things that you'd organize soon after your arrival here in Australia. It's a pretty quick process. You will need to enter personal information, including your passport and travel document number, as well as contact details. It's a pretty complex thing trying to understand the process of completing and lodging a tax return, especially as a newly arrived migrant in Australia. I know that's based on experience, but don't stress yourself out too much. The ATO has practical advice for first-time taxpayers, and if it does get too much, ask the professionals for help, just like I did. Now, don't forget to check out the actual blog post on my website for more information. The link would be in the description box as always, and also please note that the information shared in this video is a general guide only. And that's it for today. Please like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, and visit myaussiestory.com if you'd like to see more of my journey and experiences as an immigrant here in Australia. Thanks for watching. See ya.